Hi, my name is Adam Syed, and I'm a violinist and teacher. This tutorial video will be about how to develop flexibility in the wrist and the fingers in order to produce our off-the-string strokes. Now, I'm inspired to make this video because I have a number of students that are playing the Carl Boehm perpetual motion. And for many people, this is the first true introduction to this kind of bouncing stroke. In the Suzuki literature, every piece prior to this is strictly on the string. And this is the first time we deal with this kind of stroke. And most people are working too hard and they're using their arm and they're going, and they can't get it above a certain speed because that takes so much work. The reason that they're having trouble is because they've been taught to use the arm. And while most people by this stage do understand that we shouldn't be using the whole arm and that we should be doing this, they still are quite locked right here. There's still a lot of tightness there. There has to be some flexibility and independence as far as the hand from the rest of the arm. Okay? Now, the first time my teacher, when I was in around the 7th grade or so, when I was demonstrated to, my teacher showed me this and said, use the wrist. And he did it, and then I tried to imitate it. And when I first tried, the result was probably something like this. I had no clue how he was doing it so effortlessly. And the reason for that, as I came to learn later, is because I was trying it with the bow too early. So, how I learned how to do this and what caused me to crack through the membrane, so to speak, and spread my wings and learn how to fly. Because that's a great analogy. When I finally learned how to do this and I could play fast passages, it was like I had broken out of my cocoon and I was a butterfly and I could fly. When I was first able to develop this technique, all of a sudden, boom! Before I knew it, I could play the third movement of the Mendelssohn Concerto. And the way I learned how to do this was by using a pencil. Okay? Now, there's two things. There's the fingers and then there's the wrist. Okay? The finger motion is what's known as collé. C-O-L-L-E accent. Or I guess if it's the other way, depending on if this is mirror image or not. And that is to do with just the fingers. Now, notice a couple of things, just a couple of reminders about the bow hold. First of all, we want to make sure that the thumb is always curved outward and never that, okay? So the thumb is curved outward at that top knuckle. And let's also not forget that the pinky has to be on the top of the stick, never over the side like this. This is one instance where the violin and the cello bow hold are different. The violin, it's very imperative that the pinky be on the top while the others are hugging the side. Okay? Now, notice how curled my fingers are. This is the default position. And when we go into the collé motion, notice I'm holding my wrist because I want to show the differentiation here. Okay? We've got the fingers, and I'm going to extend them outward in a sort of downward diagonal fashion like this. Oh, there I am. My pinky is kind of slipping a little bit. Let's try that again. You can hear my cat meowing in the background. That's Stella. Hi, Stella. Meow. Now, after you've done that a number of times with just the fingers, then it's time to also add the wrist. Okay, and these two motions should work in conjunction with one another. Now, honestly, while I was paying attention to my teachers in school, I sat in the classroom all day and did this. Here's just the fingers. And then here it is in conjunction with the wrist. And after doing this, you know, it probably really only took a few school days of doing this regularly throughout most of the periods when I was not taking notes, but when the teacher was just talking and I was just sitting there listening, this was becoming second nature. It was becoming automatic. And that was the key. That was what trained me to feel it. And then when I pick up this, which is not only a lot heavier, but it's also a lot imbalanced heavy in terms of the sense that it's heavy down here and lighter up here. And we hold it obviously down at the very heavy end. After I had done this with a pencil, then it was much easier and much more natural to just okay? Now, the collé motion, I currently have a student who's working on the fifth variation REA, I believe it's called, by Dankla, and we have these chords. Now, they should be all down, but the last thing I just did there, I showed you an up bow as well. You can do it. Remember, this is not the default position. This is the default position, and then this is the extended position. Be careful when you do something like that you don't start it crooked like this and then go. It's not that. We want to start parallel with the bridge, and then I can do an up bow as well. Or notice how I'm doing a circular motion entirely with the fingers. Notice how the arm is not doing much of anything. Okay, great. Hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.